Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make your own audio visualizer for free again. The last one of these I made did really well, so I decided to make a follow-up tutorial covering some changes and features that weren't addressed in the last one. Before we start, make sure you go down, drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. I also do shoutouts for every video, and all you have to do to win is get the first comment. I also want to mention that I have the absolute worst subscriber ratio on the planet.
No.
So please, subscribe and actually watch my videos so this number goes down. Anyway, let's get right into the video. Enjoy! So I'm breaking this tutorial down into two parts. The first part will cover everything I didn't mention in the last video, and the second part will be about a new visualizer website that you can use. You can find timestamps for each part in the description, but I recommend that you watch the whole thing. Musicvid.org is a free service that lets you create professional-looking visualizers for your music completely online. It's recommended that you use Chrome or Firefox browsers, but there's also a desktop version for Windows that has a much faster export time. I highly suggest using that if you can, and I'll leave a link to the download in the description. Also, if you haven't seen my other video about Musicvid, make sure you go watch it first and then come back to see what's new. Now that you're all caught up, let's see what's changed. I'll start by choosing the same template as last time just to be consistent, and I'm going to use a snippet of my song Tomorrow as the audio. Your audio file needs to be 10 minutes or less for the site to work normally. On the left, you'll see that the tabs have been changed. The first tab, called Quick Settings, gives you easy access to different controls for the project. I won't be covering this section in detail because everything that you can find in the Quick Settings, plus a lot more controls, will be under the Layers tab, which offers detailed modifications for your visualizer. Under the tab labeled WebGL 2D Scene, you'll find some options for your background, most of which are under the Items section. Geometry settings will have sizing and scaling options, and material settings will have brightness and image controls. This is where you can change your background image. Under WebGL 3D Scene, you can change the particle settings, including opacity, count, color, size, reactivity, speed, and even adding your own particle image. The Canvas Scene tab is where you'll modify the emblem and spectrum. Under the JS Nation section, these tabs let you change the opacity and glow. At the bottom, you can adjust the position, size, and rotation. The Emblem tab lets you change the size, transparency, and blur of the central image, along with the size and color of the surrounding circle. In the Movement tab, you can modify the exaggeration and shake amount. Turn the exponential down and the exaggeration up for the most punch. Moving on to the Spectrum tab, you can tweak height, opacity, and line type and width. The Colors tab will let you change the colors and their exaggerations. In addition to all these settings, you can add more items to the project. Just click on the appropriate scene and hit Add Item. For example, I'll add some particle lines to the 3D scene. Now we can move on to the Automations tab, where you can add some more effects. These are a bit harder to implement, so I'll just show you how to add a simple background skew effect. First, click Add New Automation, Audio Reactive Automation, then name it. Go back to your Layers tab, head to the Background Settings, and click on Camera. Next to these boxes, click A, Add New Automation, select the one we just made, and type an expression into the Transform box. I think A over 1100 is a good starting point, and you can make the number bigger or smaller based on your preference. Repeat this for the following boxes and tweak the automation number for each, and you'll have your very own background skew effect. Now that we're done making the visualizer, head to the Project tab where you can name and save it. Finally, go to the Export tab, type in a file name, and hit Start Encoding. Make sure you're completely done when you hit this. The export should start immediately, and it can take a pretty long time depending on your computer's processing power. So again, just be patient. If you have any questions about Musicvid, you can ask down below, but I suggest joining the official Discord where you can get updates, share your videos, and get your questions answered by the developers and other users. I'll leave a link to it in the description. I'll also leave a link to the visualizer I made in this video so you can use it for your own projects. Let's see what our final video looks like. Musicvid is definitely a great way to make your music look more interesting. Speaking of music, if you've always wanted your songs on big platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, TikTok, and many more, then DistroKid is the perfect service for you. They basically put your tracks everywhere imaginable and give you unlimited uploads, fast verification, cover licenses, 100% of royalties, and more for the lowest prices in the market. I've made a whole video on them if you're interested, and you can find a link to it in the top right. And if you want 7% off of any DistroKid plan, simply go to the link that's on the screen. Now back to the video. So the creators of Musicvid have recently started a new project called Vizzy, which is designed to be the next step in advanced audio visualization. You can visit the site at vizzy.io or click the link in the description. Once you get to the page, I recommend signing up for a free account so that you can save and share your projects and keep track of your exports. Once you've made an account, click on Create Video Now. You'll be presented with 3 options: templates, the advanced editor, and an upcoming lyrics tool. Keep in mind that the site is still in an alpha version, which means that the devs will be constantly updating it and adding new features. As of right now, there's only one official template, but if you're watching this later, there might be more templates to choose from, including ones designed for the easy editor. Right now, I'm only going to focus on the advanced editor to show you the full capability the site has. First, you should click Choose Audio and upload your audio file, which must be in an MP3, AAC, or WAV format. Right now, there's a 10-minute or less requirement for the audio, but the developers have been thinking about adding a longer option for podcasts in the future. Click on this button to view the render settings and change the resolution to your liking. Click on Image, Basics, and upload your background image. You may have to click play for it to load in. Then you can adjust the vignette, brighten to audio, and mirror settings, and change the position in the Transform tab. Now we can go ahead and add some particles. Click this plus button to view the items. Put the 2D items under the 2D Visualizer tab and 3D items under the 3D tab. Click on the particles and go to the basics, where you can change the particle image, count, and color. Click on the lifetime section to modify the speed, size, and sensitivity ranges. Next, we can move on to the spectrum. Go to the basics tab to add your image. Then go to the positioning and size tab to change its dimensions. Once the image is the right size, head to the Spectrum tab, where you can control the color, size, exaggeration, transparency, blur, and more for each layer, in addition to changing the line type, spectrum height, and circle color. If you change the height to -1 and the stroke to line, you can have the spectrum move inwards. You can also fine-tune the shape of the spectrum by going to the General Settings tab and messing with the transformation settings, and even adding some more of your own. Once you have the spectrum looking just how you want it, you can add more items to the project. I'll add spectrum bars to the 2D folder. The implementation is pretty much the same as a circle spectrum, so I'll speed up the footage. Now I'm going to show you some automations that you can add to your project. First, let's make the spectrum a bit more punchy. Go to this tab, hit the plus, and click Impact Automation. Then head back to Layers, Circle Spectrum, and go to Positioning. Next to the Scale 2D settings, click the dots and select your automation. Go back to the Automation, into the Children tab, and type in an expression. I think 1.75 plus A over 13,000 is a good starting point, and you can modify it from there. You can also automate post-processing effects. Make sure you enable post-processing for each layer you want to add effects to by clicking on the layer heading and checking this box in the Basics tab. I'll start by doing a grayscale effect. Click the plus and select a grayscale, and tie the amount to the impact automation. Now go back and type in an expression. That looks good, but I think we need to add a little blur to the background. Let's go to the post-processing settings for the background. Add a 2-pass blur, and adjust it back in the Children tab. Next, I'm going to show you how to add an intro blur. Go to the Automations tab, and add a new 2-point automation. Go to the Render settings, and add a 2-pass blur. Tie the amount setting to the point automation. Back in the other tab, add another point. For the first point, set the time to 0 and the value to the amount of blur you want. I'm going to set mine to 0.05. On the second point, change the time to how many seconds you want the blur to last, and change the value to 0. Lastly, I'm going to add a trail effect to the spectrum, which doesn't require an automation. Go to the 2D post-processing settings and add a trail effect. Right under it, add a render effect. For the trail, set the amount to your preference and click the clear box right under it. You should see a trail behind your spectrum. Now that the effects are done, it's time to save and export the project. Click File, Save to record your progress, and hit Export once you're completely finished. You can choose between a web export or a server export. A web export will start instantly, but it could take longer depending on what computer you're using. A cloud export will be much faster, but you have to wait in a queue. For now, both options are free since the site is still in an alpha version, but there might be some limits added later on. The developers said that the site will always have a free option with no watermark and decent quality, so you don't have to worry about paying. Let's go see how our visualizer looks. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Bye!